This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, August 21st. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Rain this morning, clouds this afternoon, high 75. Tonight and overnight, clouds clear out, low 63, and then Friday, sunshine, high 84. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it's only 57 in cloudy and Sloatsburg up in Rockland County, 67 raining in Deal over in New Jersey, and it's 63 and raining right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
Aaron has beach towns on high alert. 2 of Mayor Adams' advisors have some explaining to do. How did a 5-year-old fall from a 5th-floor window in Brooklyn? Here come the Legionnaires' lawsuits. And a Little League team from Connecticut is the talk of the town. 5:01, let's start with Aaron. Swimming and surfing still banned at many tri-state beaches, will be through at least today due to Hurricane Aaron. Now, the storm's way offshore, but it's just grinding up the seas. Aaron won't make landfall anywhere on the East Coast, but it is causing these dangerous rip currents, high surf at places like the Rockaways in Queens.
It is pretty wild out there. We were wondering why the parking lot wasn't as full as normal. Totally forgot about Hurricane Aaron.
And I'm a pretty strong swimmer, but I don't mess with the ocean, and I think that if they say stay out, you should stay out.
New York City lifeguards were not on duty yesterday. They will not be on duty today. Parks Enforcement Patrol positioned along beaches to make sure that nobody goes in the water. Meanwhile, Governor Hochul has ordered state parks to suspend swimming at Long Island beaches. Many shore communities have the same rules in effect, and now Manasquan, the mayor there, says many people near the beach this week are on vacation and are pretty unfamiliar with which roads flood, so they're trying to get the word out.
Even though it's going to be hundreds of miles away, we're going to see a lot of water pushed our way. You almost put that perfectly right. So we're going to see high tides. We're going to see coastal flooding, which means that there's going to be water in the streets.
Correspondent Aaron Gilchrist, he's in North Carolina's Outer Banks, where massive surges, big waves have already been hitting.
A storm surge of 2 to 4 feet impacting the island here, and also waves that could reach 15 to 20 feet in some cases at the worst part of the impact from Hurricane Aaron.
Yeah, you get a sense of how big the storm could have been. Thank God it's not hitting us. So it's 110 miles per hour, but it's 335 miles southeast of North Carolina, but we're still feeling a lot of it.
This storm is going to have impacts on beaches in particular. There are warnings up for people not to go into the water because the rip current is going to be so dangerous. We've seen beaches closed from Florida up to New York.
North Carolina Governor Josh Stein says things could get bad.
We are anticipating coastal flooding from massive waves, tropical storm force winds, and tidal and storm surge for much of the state shoreline.
Yeah, we've already seen that in North Carolina overnight. Most area beaches here across the tri-state again are going to ban swimming again today. 5:03. Another bad look for the re-election campaign of Mayor Eric Adams after a close advisor, former Adams appointee, apparently gave cash to a journalist Wednesday tucked into a potato chip bag.
The Times reports Winnie Greco has been suspended from her volunteer role with Adams' languishing re-election campaign, but even Greco confirms what happened. She went to a campaign event Adams was at in Harlem Wednesday, then gave more than $100 in cash in an envelope inside a snack bag to a reporter from online outlet The City. The reporter reported it, and the city contacted law enforcement. Greco, the mayor's former director of Asian Affairs, was raided by the FBI as they investigated Adams' 2021 campaign. Greco's lawyer told the Times it's common in Chinese culture to give cash to reporters, quote, in a gesture of friendship and gratitude. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
I wonder if that reporter was insulted that she could be bought off for $100. Mayor Adams, meanwhile, longtime advisor, campaign confidant Ingrid Lewis-Martin expected to face even more charges today for allegedly accepting handouts in exchange for political favors. Now, the New York Post reporting this morning that prosecutors will accuse Lewis-Martin of accepting a series of high-end meals, other handouts, in exchange for favorable treatment from the administration on some redevelopment plans. Authorities also probing whether the businessmen picked up the tab for some of Lewis-Martin's well-known karaoke parties that she used to throw. Now, I will point out she has repeatedly maintained she's done nothing wrong, and she says that she will plead not guilty to any new fresh charges that are thrown her way. Of course, none of this is good timing for Mayor Adams, who's right in the midst of a re-election campaign. 505, a lawsuit being filed now against two construction companies and the city of New York in connection with this deadly Legionnaires disease outbreak in Harlem that has killed 5. There's still people in the hospital today.
Companies to not have assured and protected workers and follow the guidelines.
You might recognize that voice. It's Reverend Al Sharpton announcing a lawsuit on behalf of construction workers alleging negligence against Construction USA building. Work was being done apparently on buildings with cooling towers that tested positive for bacteria that causes Legionnaires. Lawyers say the cooling towers at Harlem Hospital were filled with rainwater in July and left untreated, and the companies did not provide a safe work environment. So 5 have died. More than 100 have gotten sick from the outbreaks. That's why you're seeing these lawsuits.
We believe that the construction companies were on notice that Legionella bacteria contamination was a possibility based on bulletins that were given out at the beginning of July. There were no protections in place for the workers.
Civil rights attorney Benjamin Crumpy's part of this lawsuit.
It was completely preventable. And so when corporations cut corners, tragedies like this happen.
I think it's the beginning of what will be a series of lawsuits against the city over this Legionnaires outbreak in Harlem. 506, the NYPD appears to be coming out of that hiring crisis they've been in.
Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch swore in nearly 1,100 recruits on Wednesday, the most of any class to enter the police academy since 2016.
It tells us that policing in this city is being rebuilt, that the call to service is being answered, and that the future of public safety is being secured.
Tisch says the department is on pace to beat a record set in 1984 with the most officers hired in a single year. I'm Lisa Ritchie for 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 509. Russia continuing to launch strikes on Ukraine, even as U.S. officials are trying to arrange a face-to-face meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky. Correspondent Alice Barr has more.
Finding where to meet, no easy task, with Putin facing arrest for war crime charges and many countries party to the International Criminal Court. A White House official telling NBC News President Trump spoke with Hungary's leader and that Budapest is being considered, as well as Geneva.
Administration sources telling Politico yesterday the Secret Service is preparing for a trilateral summit in Budapest. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt would neither confirm or deny that report. Still not clear that the summit will even take place.
Russia has yet to publicly confirm Putin will meet with Zelensky, though the White House says he agreed to. Ukraine and European allies worried Putin will play for time are pressing for an immediate ceasefire rather than the broad peace deal President Trump favors. Russia has said any peacekeeping effort that includes NATO member nations on the ground in Ukraine would be unacceptable. President Trump also ruling out NATO membership for Ukraine, raising questions about key sticking points ahead of Russia-Ukraine negotiations. On the front lines of eastern Ukraine, relentless Russian strikes underscoring what's at stake as the White House seeks a location for a face-to-face meeting between Ukraine's President Zelensky Zelensky and Russia's President Putin.
Now, the White House still optimistic that this could happen, but when you see what both sides want, they are pretty far apart. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance giving details on the visit of Ukrainian President Zelensky when he was at the White House on Monday.
The president says, we've had a pretty good meeting. I'm going to go call Vladimir Putin and see what he says about it. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to call him next week? And he's like, no, what time is it in Moscow? Let's call him right now.
Vance said on Fox News yesterday that he started things off with an icebreaker, telling Zelensky that as long as it behaved, Vance wouldn't say anything. You'll remember that dust-up back in February.
And while they often disagree about issues, and obviously the president has been very critical of Vladimir Putin, the president's also willing to work with anybody if he thinks it's going to accomplish an important goal for America. And we all agree an important goal is to stop the killing. I think it is Joe Biden's war. Without him being weak and provocative, I don't think that Russia would have invaded Ukraine. And now we have a situation where a president is trying to be strong and bold and trying to bring this thing to a close.
And we're finding out about some interesting moments that took place in Alaska on Friday when the president met with President Putin. An Alaska man has a new motorcycle courtesy of the Russian president.
Mark Warren says he was gifted a Ural motorcycle last week. It came after he spoke with two Russian state media journalists earlier this month before the Alaska summit between Putin and President Trump. He says he was approached by the journalists while riding his motorcycle through downtown Anchorage. He says they started asking him questions about it while filming him. Ural motorcycles are named after the Ural Mountains in western Russia. Russia is calling the move an act of giving by President Putin. I'm Daniel Martindale.
WABC News Time 512, Israel's military calling up about 60,000 reservists as it moves ahead with a plan to take over Gaza City. Correspondent Blake Sifton says the word comes from officials as Israel studies this ceasefire proposal that was put forward by mediators from Qatar and Egypt. Now, Hamas has signed on to this peace proposal. So far, Israel has not.
The military reportedly intends to first set up infrastructure in southern Gaza to house displaced civilians before issuing evacuation orders for the estimated 1 million Palestinians living in Gaza City. The military would then siege Gaza City and launch its offensive.
Now, the ceasefire proposal, which has been agreed to by Hamas, it calls for the release of 10 living hostages as well as 18 who have died in exchange for a number of Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. Now, Bibi Netanyahu has said all along he won't go on board with any sort of ceasefire deal unless it includes the releasing of every single hostage.
The plan's approval comes despite reports that Israeli officials are studying a ceasefire proposal that Hamas has agreed to and plan to give their response in the coming days. 60,000 Israeli reservist soldiers are expected to begin receiving call-up orders on Wednesday after Defense Minister Israel Katz approved plans for the takeover of Gaza City.
And that call-up began actually before Wednesday. Meanwhile, the President Trump, giving praise to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, calling him a war hero.
During an interview, the president referred to the prime minister as a good man who is fighting for Israel. Trump said he's a war hero because we work together and added, I guess I am too. He pointed to the U.S. strikes against 3 Iranian nuclear facilities in June as an example. While the president praised Netanyahu, he also took aim at attempts to jail the prime minister as the International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant accusing him of war crimes. I'm Mark Mayfield.
514 rather. Let's bring it back home out to San Diego. A jury there convicting a Navy sailor of spying for the Chinese government there.
25-year-old Jin Chao Wei was assigned to the USS Essex when he was arrested at Naval Base San Diego in 2023. He was convicted on 6 federal counts of taking thousands of dollars to send photos and videos of the ship to a Chinese contact. He'll be sentenced in December, and his maximum sentence could be life in prison. I'm Jack Cronin.
Down to Texas, the parents of 27 girls who died at Camp Mystic during floods in Texas back on July 4th, urging lawmakers there to support a bill that would make summer camps safer. Michael McCowan, he lost his 8-year-old daughter in the flooding, says there needs to be more protections in place.
We did not send Lenny to a war zone. We sent her to camp. We trusted she would be safe. No parent should ever again face what we are living through now.
State lawmakers taking up a package of bills to address the disaster.
I believe that being disconnected from electronics for a time is very healthy for kids. Behind the scenes, the back office, and the foundation of summer camp must be fully up to date. How could these girls vanish into the night without anyone having eyes on them? While cabins, literally just 20 yards away, had no casualties.
Yeah, so they're, of course, going through all that in the aftermath of that flooding in Texas. In a moment, we'll give you the latest on whether we'll ever see these Jeffrey Epstein files. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. And here's Justin Alec.
Thank you, Noam Layden. Start here on the diamond down in Tampa Bay. Giancarlo Stanton had a pinch hit, 2-run homer in the 10th to lift the Yankees to a 6-4 win over the Tampa Bay Rays last night. Their first road victory in 7 extra inning games this year. Austin Wells followed with his second homer of the night. Also off Rays closer Pete Fairbanks and extended New York's winning streak to 5. The Yanks have scored 19 runs in their last 2 games, all on homers, the most runs for a team over 2 games that all crossed on homers. Stanton is hitting .432 with 7 homers and 17 RBI in 14 games in August. The late power surge came after Rays catcher Hunter Fiducia doubled off Yankees closer David Bednar with 2 outs in the 9th, driving in 2 runs to tie the game. Bednar stole the win from rookie Cam Schlittler, who in his 7th Major League start held the Rays scoreless and a 1 hit over career-high 6 2/3 innings. His bid, I should say, for a perfect game ended when Chandler Simpson singled to lead off the 7th. The rookie struck out 8, all swinging. Trent Grisham led off the game with a home run and later added his 2nd of the night in the 8th as well. Up next for the Yankees, now 4 games back of the first-place Toronto Blue Jays in the division and 2 games up on Boston for the AL's first wildcard spot. Luis Gil will get the start when the Yankees return home tonight for the opener of a 3-game series against the aforementioned Red Sox. First pitch from the Bronx is scheduled for 7:15 p.m. In Washington, D.C., the Mets ended their 3-game winning streak in the form of a 5-4 loss to the Nationals. The struggling Kodai Senga allowed 5 runs, 4 of them earned, in 5+ innings of work. He has allowed 18 earned runs over 27 innings in his past 6 starts for a 6 ERA. Brett Beatty hit his 15th homer, a 455-foot rocket in the 5th. Back-to-back doubles in the 6th from Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil got the Mets within 5-4. Mets left fielder Brandon Nimmo exited in the 2nd inning with a stiff neck. Up next for the Mets, now 6.5 games back of Philadelphia for first place in the division and still a game up on Cincinnati for the 3rd and final NL wildcard spot. Chalman Isle will get the start in this afternoon's series finale and rubber game of this 3-game set against the Nationals. First pitch from D.C. is scheduled for 4:05 p.m. And you got football to look forward to tonight. It's an 8 p.m. kickoff at MetLife Stadium. The Giants getting their final preseason game underway against the Patriots. They're 6.5-point preseason favorites there. And tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. kickoff, also at MetLife Stadium, the Jets will get their final preseason game underway against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jets are 2-point favorites there. And before you know it, Noam Layden, we'll have regular season football coming up in just a couple of weeks. How about that?
Feels like football weather right now.
I know, right? Man, I walked outside my apartment this morning, wanted to just run back in.
Same here.
That's your Sports Noam. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Thank you very much, Justin. Traffic, transit now. Here's Joe Nolan.
Had trouble finding my Jets sneakers yesterday because of the move. I couldn't find them, but I did, so good news.
Were they like in the last box that you looked into?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that's good news for tomorrow.
What are they? They're like Nikes? Or
yeah, they're Nikes, yeah. They're really cool. Have Jets logo all over them. They're really cool. Love them. Anyway, I wear them every game. Anyway, Grand Central Parkway.
And they brought a lot of good luck to the Jets, I say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good luck, sneakers.
Yeah. WABC News Time 5:20. The Jeffrey Epstein grand jury records for now are going to remain sealed.
A judge on Wednesday denied the Justice Department's bid to get the records unsealed that led to Epstein being indicted on sex trafficking charges. Public interest in the case reignited after the Justice Department announced that Epstein did not have a client list and confirmed the sex offender's death was a suicide. Evidence that was seen and heard by grand juries is not allowed to be released without approval from a judge. Last month, President Trump ordered Attorney General Pam Bondi to get court approval to release the grand jury material. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Lawsuits have been filed now on behalf of 6 U.S. citizens who claim they were detained, abused by ICE agents. Attorney Louis Carrillo alleges in the lawsuit that immigration enforcement operations in June and July targeted race, not criminals.
They went after Latinos, U.S. citizens, and immigrants. That's what they were focusing on.
Lawsuits charge civil rights violations tied to racial profiling of 5 Latino U.S. citizens, 1 permanent resident.
Christine Noem said that, no, we're not racial profiling. That's a lie. She lied just like Trump lies every single day.
Government pushing back against that, saying U.S. citizens were sometimes detained because they interfered with enforcement operations by ICE. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the entire southern border wall being painted black. She had told us earlier this week, detailing it here.
That is specifically at the request of the president, who understands that in the hot temperatures down here, when something is painted black, it gets even warmer, and it will make it even harder for people to climb.
She made the announcement in El Paso. She says funds for the painting allocated in the massive spending bill that was passed earlier this year, and that the pace of the painting was a little bit less than half a mile a day.
Today, we have the most secure U.S. border that we've ever had in the history of this nation.
522, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, cutting about 40% of her staff now.
Gabbard announced a reorganization of her office on Wednesday, an initiative that was dubbed ODNI 2.0. The restructuring will reassign various roles and eliminate some altogether. The move aims to save $700 million per year. This comes after Gabbard revoked the security clearances of dozens of intelligence officials at the direction of President Trump. I'm Mark Mayfield.
16 states, including the District of Columbia, involved in a lawsuit. They're asking the Food and Drug Administration to drop restrictions on the abortion drug mifepristone.
The restrictions include providers being required to be a registered prescriber of the drug, pharmacies need special certification to dispense it, and patients have to sign a form to prove that they are voluntarily terminating a pregnancy. The FDA approved mifepristone in 2000, and it's been used by more than 7.5 million women in the U.S. I'm Brad Ford.
523, we had the case of malaria in New Jersey, which is somebody who had not traveled overseas. Now there's a case of bubonic plague in Northern California.
This person was camping in an area in South Lake Tahoe and was bitten, likely by a flea.
Heather Orchard with the El Dorado County Public Health Department. She says cases of the plague, of course, are rare, but they do happen. This is the first case in California since 2020. Now, this person, they didn't detail who he is or she is, but they've received medical treatment.
A lot of the symptoms are very common: nausea, vomiting, muscle aches. It's treated with antibiotics, and it's early identification.
Yeah, and they're urging people, at least in the El Dorado County area, to not feed or touch wild rodents or keep pets on leashes, all because of this, at least one case of bubonic plague. 524, down to Texas, where lawmakers there have approved new congressional maps designed to give Republicans an edge in next year's elections in the U.S. House of Representatives after a 2-week standoff in which Democrats fled the state to stall the vote and rally supporters against redistricting plans. Republicans were able yesterday in the House of Representatives to pass the new voting lines in an 88-52 vote. So the maps will now go to the state Senate, where they are expected to be swiftly approved. In California, they're trying to do a redistricting thing too to counteract what's happening in Texas. But Republicans in California are trying to get in the way of that redistricting plan. One of them is California Assembly member Carl DeMeo, who alleges that some politicians have engaged in vote trading to shape the vote here on redistricting.
Politicians, for their own political benefit and for partisan advantage, are working behind closed doors with powerful special interests, manipulating the lines of maps and trading votes, allegedly.
California Republicans urging the U.S. Department of Justice now to investigate what they call illegal activities among state legislature members when it comes to redistricting in California. 525. Federal Reserve officials concerned over tariffs, inflation, and labor markets as they decide whether to lower interest rates.
Recently released minutes from the Fed's July meeting showed a divided board after 2 governors voted against the decision to hold rates steady, marking the first time multiple governors rejected a rate decision in more than 30 years. The governors also noted rising threats to the economy that would warrant monitoring, as well as the possibility of facing difficult trade-offs due to more persistent inflation and a weakened labor market. President Trump has pressured the Fed for months to cut rates, criticizing Chairman Jerome Powell and the board. I'm Chris Caraccio.
Down to Texas, where a law that would require public schools to post a picture of the 10 Commandments in classroom is on hold. A federal judge agreeing with the ACLU, which argued that it's unconstitutional.
The 10 Commandment displays are likely to pressure the plaintiffs into religious observance
and into suppressing expression of their own religious or non-religious background.
That's the ACLU attorney. Judge Fred Berry wrote in his ruling that exposing kids to a state-approved Christian version of the biblical document was coercive.
The ruling confirms what we have said all along, which is that public schools are not Sunday schools.
The ruling will be appealed to the Fifth Circuit Court, which previously put a similar Louisiana law on hold for the same reasons. Supreme Court preparing to hear a major free speech case out of Colorado involving the state's ban on conversion therapy for minors. The Colorado Attorney General says the state has a right to protect patients from what he says is harmful treatment.
There's never been a First Amendment objection to protecting patients and prohibiting substandard of care, regardless of whether or not the care is carried out through words.
The case was brought by Colorado Springs counselor Kaylee Childs, who says the law censors her conversations with young clients about gender identity.
In theory, when you talk about being conservative, it means you preserve what is long established and you view change as something that should be done cautiously. In that sense, we have a conservative case to be made.
The High Court will begin hearing oral arguments on this case on October 7th.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, August 21st. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Rain this morning, clouds this afternoon, high 75. Tonight and overnight, clouds clear out, low 63. And then Friday, it's going to be sunshine, high 84. If you're walking out the door with us right now, you'll notice right away it's pretty chilly. 57 and cloudy in Sloatsburg up in Rockland County. It is 62 and raining in Deal over in New Jersey. And it's 63 and raining right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 538. A 5-year-old boy fell out of a 5th-story window at a NYCHA complex in Sheepshead Bay yesterday afternoon. Happened just about noon. This was on Avenue V at the Sheepshead Bay houses.
He's blessed that he fell on the soft part, and it's lucky that it's raining, so all that is soaked and soft.
So lots of people running to this kid's aid. They took him to Maimonides Hospital. He was conscious and alert.
I yelled because the kid wasn't moving. He started moving a little bit, and he was in and out of consciousness, but I didn't hear him speak or anything like that. You know, like he could only make a small noise. She was frantic her holding her kid, so she didn't know what to do.
Child was in surgery yesterday after scans showed bleeding on the brain. The mother lives in a unit there with her 3 sons who are 13, 12, and 5. She spoke to Eyewitness News about what took place.
He opened a window trying to get his toys.
His toys?
Yes, his toys fell off at the window. So that's how he opened the window trying to get his toys. So I see him laying down. He was not responsible, nothing. That's all I can remember. No, he was not moving. He was moving, yeah, and his eyes was open, but he was not responsive.
And neighbors say because of the recent cool weather, the mother had taken out the AC unit in the window. Normally there are child-proof bars, but apparently they hadn't just been put back yet. Yes, this is the mom.
I noticed there are no bars on that window, that one window. Did you just take out an AC unit?
Yes, the AC unit, yes.
Yeah, police investigating, but they don't expect to file any charges. We don't have an update on that child's condition as of 5:39 this morning. And the family of a 3-year-old girl with autism asking the public's help after the child has gone missing. Nova Echevarria was last seen inside her apartment building in Canarsie. Ring cam footage shows the girl being taken away by her biological mother, who does not have custody of the child. The family grandmother has full custody of this 3-year-old and has had full custody since the little girl was about 3 months old. So the family just begging this mom to return the child.
All I ask God is to bring my little baby home. She's an autistic little girl. Me and Nova is like 2 peas in a pie. Like, why didn't they put an Amber Alert to show everybody what's going on?
Now, the family believes that the mom took the toddler to the Bronx or Upper Manhattan. They describe The mother is 5'4", often wears different colorful wigs. And they have asked why there was no Amber Alert put out, but so far police haven't said much about this case as the family looks for the mom and the little girl.
I just want that if anybody knows about Nova, to please contact the police and please bring her home.
Yeah, let's hope they find her. 5:41. As Hurricane Erin churns offshore, coastal communities across Long Island feeling its effects. Rough surf, high tides, growing concerns over flooding and beach erosion. Gusts could be as high as 50 miles per hour on Long Island today. Powerful waves pounding the shoreline in Southampton yesterday, drawing crowds of onlookers. Flags posted saying that there's no swimming, strictly prohibited. That'll be a case again today.
A little rough for swimming or going in the water right now, I'd say.
Waves rushed up close to some of the houses near the beach, and one could imagine the waves rushing over some of the dunes.
There's a restaurant there called At Sundays on the Bay. It's a popular waterfront restaurant. The staff there says they've seen a noticeable drop in business since Erin started coming up the coast. It seems they say people either are staying home or have gone back home. This woman talking to News 12.
I definitely see an effect happening here. You know, restaurant has slowed down a little bit. Staff hasn't been getting as much money. Erin, you better be quick and get out.
Well, it looks like by Friday into Saturday, Erin will be gone. New York City officials, though, closing all city beaches to swimmers again today. That began 6 a.m. yesterday. Shore towns down the Jersey Shore, like Manasquan, getting busy getting messaging out to the public. The mayor there says the town's actually full of a lot of vacationers this week. This week and next week are big vacation weeks. And he says a lot of those people are unfamiliar with roads and how they flood, so they're trying to get the word out.
Even though it's going to be hundreds of miles away, we're going to see a lot of water pushed our way. You almost put that perfectly right. So we're going to see high tides. We're going to see coastal flooding, which means that there's going to be water in the streets.
Erosion, beach erosion, of course, everywhere. That's the case in Seaside Heights, where the authorities up there, the mayor up there, warning people about going into the water there.
There was access to the beach all day today. No swimming, obviously. We just cleared the beach of any beach walkers. It'll go hour by hour, but the likelihood is that it'll be locked up for tomorrow.
Yeah, we haven't got an official word, but I'm sure it will be locked up today. The Category 2 storm is not expected to make landfall, but as it moves up the East Coast, it is whipping up the ocean. In fact, it's far off the coast, but as of last look, it was like 100 miles per hour, sustained winds of more than 100 miles per hour around that storm. 5:43. A former top City Hall advisor, current campaign confidant to Mayor Adams, attempted to give money to a reporter from the publication The City following a campaign event in Harlem yesterday. The failed payoff, which was a wad of cash in a red envelope stuffed inside an open bag of sour cream and onion potato chips, was made by Winnie Greco, who's a longtime Adams ally, who resigned last year from her position as the mayor's liaison to the Asian community after she was targeted in multiple investigations. Well, yesterday, the City Hall reporter, Katie Honan, spotted Greco near the announcement of Adams' newest campaign office. Greco later texted Honan after the event, after she spotted it or asked to meet her across from the campaign office. Well, Greco and Honan walked to a Whole Foods next door, and while inside, she handed Honan this open bag of potato chips. And right away, she saw there was a stack of cash inside. It was a $100 bill and several 20s. So the reporter then called Greco and told her she couldn't accept the money and asked if she was still nearby so she could hand it back. In an interview later Wednesday, Greco said her intention in handing the money to the reporter was in response, she said, that she made a mistake. And she said that this has something to do with Asian customs, though she wasn't really clear about that. She apologized over and over again. I should point out, even though Greco has not an official capacity with the Adams administration anymore, she had been working as a volunteer advisor on the mayor's his campaign. And in a moment, there's other charges for a longtime advisor of Mayor Adams. We'll get into that in just a moment. Verse 545. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noah Maladen. We'll start on the diamond down in Tampa. Giancarlo Stanton had a pinch hit 2-run homer in the 10th to lift the Yankees to a 6-4 win over the Rays last night. Their first road victory in 7 extra inning games this year. Austin Wells followed with his second homer of the night, also off Rays closer Pete Fairbanks, and extended New York's winning streak to 5. The Yankees have scored 19 runs in their last 2 games, all on homers, the most runs for a team over 2 games that all crossed on dingers. Stanton is hitting .432 with 7 homers and 17 RBI in 14 games in August. The late power surge came after Rays catcher Hunter Fiducia doubled off Yankees closer David Bednar with 2 outs in the 9th, driving in 2 runs to tie the game. Bednar stole the win from rookie Cam Schlittler, who in his 7th Major League start held the Rays scoreless and a 1 hit over a career-high 6 2/3 innings. His bid for a perfect game ended when Chandler Simpson singled to lead off the 7th. The rookie struck out 8, all swinging. Trent Grisham led off the game with a homer and later added his second of the night in the 8th. Up next for the Yankees, now 4 games back of the first-place Toronto Blue Jays in the division and 2 games up on Boston for the AL's first wild-card spot. Luis Gil will get the start when the Yankees return home tonight for the opener of a 3-game series against the aforementioned Red Sox. First pitch from the Bronx is scheduled for 7:15 p.m. In Washington, D.C., the Mets ended their 3-game winning streak in the form of a 5-4 loss to the Nationals. The struggling Kodai Senga allowed 5 runs, 4 of them earned in 5+ innings of work. He has allowed 18 earned runs over 27 innings in his past 6 starts for a 6 ERA. Brett Beatty hit his 15th homer, a 455-foot rocket in the 5th. Back-to-back doubles in the 6th from Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil got the Mets within 5-4. Mets left fielder Brandon Nimmo also exited in the 2nd inning with a stiff neck. Up next for the Mets, now 6.5 games back of Philly for first place in the division and still a game up on Cincinnati for the 3rd and final NL wildcard spot. Sean Manaea will get the start in this afternoon series finale and rubber game of this 3-game set against the Nationals. First pitch from D.C. is scheduled for 4:05 p.m. And you got kickoff to look forward to tonight, preseason kickoff, that is, the final preseason game for the New York Football Giants against the Patriots at MetLife Stadium. The Giants there, preseason 6.5-point favorites. And tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. kickoff, also at MetLife Stadium. The Jets will get their final preseason game underway against the Eagles. Jets there, 2-point favorites. And before we know it, we'll be watching meaningful football in early September, all right around the corner. That is your sports gnome laden. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. Okay, we told you how Winnie Greco, a campaign advisor to Mayor Adams, handed a reporter yesterday a bag of cash inside, or an envelope of cash inside a bag of potato chips. Now, the reporter instantly reported on it and then handed it back to Winnie Greco, who says it was just all a mistake. And that was not the only Mayor Adams associate yesterday who we found out is in trouble. Ingrid Lewis Martin, who was a longtime advisor to the mayor up until this past December, expected to face even more charges for allegedly accepting handouts in exchange for political favors. New York Post reporting that Lewis Martin accepted a series of high-end meals and other handouts in exchange for favorable treatment from the administration on redevelopment plans. She has repeatedly maintained, I should point out, that she's done nothing wrong, and her lawyer says that she will plead not guilty to any of these new charges that will be announced a little bit later today. And while we're on the campaign trail, Andrew Cuomo insisting that he was just speculating when he recently told donors out in the Hamptons that he believes President Trump will try to convince Republicans to help boost his campaign in the race for mayor. The president has made it no secret that he's against Zohran Mamdani, the front runner. Zohran Mamdani responding to all of this yesterday. Oh, actually, no, this is Andrew Cuomo first, talking about the fact that these phone calls, there's supposedly these phone calls between Andrew Cuomo and the White House, and President Trump both have denied this, by the way. Here was Andrew Cuomo here on WABC.
To speak to that administration with the...
No, okay, I guess this is Zohran Mamdani responding to that.
To speak to that administration with the intent of subverting the will of Democratic voters, it speaks to what you are comfortable with, what you are willing to coordinate with. What we want in New York is courage.
So Cuomo denies discussing the mayoral race with the president, but apparently believes Trump is determined to stop Mamdani Mamdani that the president's willing to back him over Republican Curtis Sliwa.
This is the far left. These are radical ideas. This is a socialist form of government. It won't work.
Sliwa himself says Cuomo should make up his mind about whether he wants support from Republicans, the president, or anyone else.
He's in the Hamptons on the weekend talking to Democrats who support Republicans, telling them, oh, no, Trump's going to support me. Then he comes back into the city and says, no, I'll be the guy to take on Trump. I'm serious.
Mayor Adams also going after Cuomo yesterday.
My opponent, Andrew Cuomo, is apparently looking towards Washington to help him become the next mayor of New York. I'm looking at you.
And Curtis Sliwa has said all along he wishes President Trump would just stay out of the race.
I would say be neutral, like Switzerland. Let us run. Let the people decide who the next mayor is. And by the way, nobody's dropping out.
And Zoran and Mayor Adams teaming up on Cuomo yesterday.
Andrew Cuomo is a man who doesn't understand that no means no. He lost the primary by 13 points. I won the most votes of any primary victor in New York City history. And still, he thinks that New Yorkers want him to lead this city.
Would I be a mayor that's a snake oil salesman, or would I be a mayor that would stand up as a leader? That's who I've been for the city of New York.
And our own Sid Rosenberg apparently getting under the skin of Zoran Mamdani. Have you ever heard of the Vulture blog? I haven't either. But anyway, Zoran Mamdani gave an interview to the Vulture blog this week. And one of the questions he was asked was, describe something that is not funny. And his answer was, Sid Rosenberg calling me an animal on Fox News. So apparently Sid has gotten under the skin of Zoran Mamdani. 5:53. Crews are out spraying for mosquitoes in Morris County, New Jersey, after the state's first local malaria case in decades.
And that's the sound of the trucks making their way through town. Malaria is a mosquito-borne disease caused by a parasite transmitted by certain mosquitoes. There are about 100 travel-associated cases of malaria reported in New Jersey every year, but the CDC is now investigating the source of an infection in a resident that has the first known locally acquired case of malaria in New Jersey since 1991, meaning that person didn't travel recently. Crews have been mosquito spraying in different parts of Morris County this week, including in Jefferson and Montville. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
WABC News time 5:54. NYPD appears to be coming out of its hiring crisis. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch swearing in nearly 1,100 recruits, the most of any class to enter the police academy since 2016.
It tells us that policing in this city is being rebuilt, that the call to service is being answered, and that the future of public safety is being secured.
Tisch says the department's on pace to beat a record set in 1984 with the most officers hired in a single year.
The noblest job anyone could choose is back in a big way. And it tells me that the years of indiscriminately bashing the police are behind us.
Well, that's good news. In Connecticut, this Little League team is all the talk. They are from Fairfield, Connecticut, and yesterday they beat Nevada 7-3 to advance to the U.S. Championship at the Little League World Series in Williamsport. So you can imagine everybody back in Fairfield all excited about it.
It's really cool to see, the kids I know, like playing out there and winning. I mean, I hope they make it all the way.
I watched the game against Hawaii when they played Hawaii. I thought they did amazing. I actually got a little tearful at the end when they won. It's just so special seeing little kids doing what they love.
The team of 11 and 12-year-olds, they're 40-0 in Connecticut play. They're undefeated in World Series play, and they're ready for what will be the U.S. Championship on Saturday. So if they win the U.S. Championship in Williamsport on Saturday, they'll advance to the World Series play to maybe be World Series champion. And their team manager says it's been an enormous amount of fun to be in Williamsport because there's players from all over the world.
Literally, we're sharing a dorm with Panama, Hawaii, Puerto Rico's right above us, making friends, trading pins. It's I can't wrap my head around it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, exciting time for Fairfield, Connecticut.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?